Thank you everyone for joining us on the desk tonight. I'm Uyi Agumofwebe. This is Global Television. We're coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Tonight, big four stories in front of us. Of course, the issue of fuel scarcity coupled with the price hike challenge still in front of us. As a matter of fact, there is probably no bigger narrative or conversation in this country as it stands right now beyond that. So it becomes very natural for you to have people complain about hike in fares, whether you're doing intra or intercity transportation. But it also means that the cost of living overall has shot up, which basically covers essential commodities like food items and what have you. The president at the moment is not in Nigeria. Hopefully, all else equal, he should be back in the country in the next few days to probably wade into some of these challenges that we're having in Nigeria right now, particularly as has to do with the price of fuel and the availability of the product, because until that is done, it's probably not possible for us to have any kind of discussion. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress, that is the NLC, is now demanding an immediate unconditional reversal of this hike in the price of petrol. As a matter of fact, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, of course speaking on behalf of his NLC, says that, look, as it stands right now, the organized labor feels betrayed. Well, we'll talk to you about this alleged betrayal after this break. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. So the Nigeria Labour Congress says that it feels betrayed with this astronomical increase in the pump price of fuel, especially given that it's even coming from the NNPCL itself, a development that the federal government has denied approving or even directing. So the Labour says up until this time, they had a couple of meetings with the federal government, in some cases with the president himself. And prior to the agreements on the 70,000 naira minimum wage, which is here to be implemented, by the way, there had been a couple of options in front of them, even coming directly from the president, as to how that. One of the options had been that workers in Nigeria could be paid as much as 250,000 naira minimum wage. However, the pump price of fuel won't be the same. And of course, we know once anything touches fuel in Nigeria, it naturally runs through everything else. So Labour says that at this point, the least and honorable thing that the federal government can do is to immediately reverse this price. But whether or not that is possible is yet to be seen, because the Nigeria Labour Congress now is demanding an immediate reversal of the latest hike in the price of petrol across the country. President of the Congress, Joe Ajero, said the Labour movement feels betrayed by the federal government over the fresh hike in the price of petrol. But that conversation is a bit technical to have, given that as it stands today, Nigeria is dealing with so many problems within the oil and gas sector, including the challenge of distribution. Of course, you have the issue now of even the Dangote refinery saying that it is impossible marketers saying they are not lifting petrol from Dangote. And Dangote is saying that, look, the only option open to me in this, under these circumstances is to sell to some foreign entities. And just today we're hearing now that the NNPC will be the sole buyer of Dangote products. But whatever the case may be, some consolation that Nigerians and indeed stakeholders are finding now is that the Dangote refinery has rolled out its products. At least a test sample has been done, and hopefully by time it's all said and done, this product will wet the market, as they say, and the issue of non-availability or difficulty in getting petrol or even the factor of price will all be resolved. But how soon that will happen remains to be seen. We're taking another quick break now. When we return, we'll put these conversations right in front of you. To stay with us.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria, come join Anthony Mamadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
That this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
That this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
I'm joined now by my colleague and our senior reporter here at Global Television, Edikon Michael. Edikon, it's good to have you.
Thanks so much.
Yes, on the program this evening. I'm just talking about the fuel scarcity and all of the issues around the labor's demand now, that the federal government must immediately reverse to the old order, as it were. I mean, the old price, which was already
based on the agreement.
Exactly, and you know, there's something the the NLC president did. He had to outline all of the issues, all of the high points of the agreement, and then he also highlighted how that, look, this didn't start today. We have even met with the president. He gave us all of these options, and we both settled for these. So he says labor feels betrayed.
I mean, it's not just labor that are betrayed. I think the whole Nigerians are equally betrayed because it looks that government were not very sincere about the whole issue. Right now, they are trying to make Nigerians to sacrifice for probably their mistakes or their misplaced of priorities and concerning governance. Because we recall when the presidency came on board, he removed subsidy, and then in 2024 budget there was no provision for that. So clearly we understood. But we've been asking several questions for the fact that at 618 that it was. To this 2024, almost as this is September already. For how long can we continue to rely that? I mean, 618 was official price, the landing cost.
Right.
So it therefore means that communication was necessary. Government would have said, "Oh, we had removed subsidy. These are the savings we had from the subsidy. This is how much we'll be able to gather. This is how much we think we can, have to probably increase on a product so as to be able to continue maintaining the profit of the gains." But it looks that you were from behind the doors subsidizing this product. And right now it looks that you are not capable of doing it again, and then you're not trade open for Nigeria to be, it looks as if you're taking us for granted, where in one way or the other you told us you're subsidizing, and now it looks that it's the treat of an event. But the real sense of what we're saying right now is the government needs to understand that the people's priority, people are the priority in every government.
That's right.
What are the policies of this administration? Is it popular on ground? Are the people accepting it? People are saying no. we can't in any way float to Naira and remove subsidy at the same time. And now Dangote Refinery, we're expecting that on the coming, on coming on board, it will be open, you know, where people, marketers can, anybody who has fund can be able to go to the refinery, buy, come in and stock. But right now we are seeing that it has to still be the determination of what NNPC has said. So in essence, many Nigerians are so bitter right now. We can't really sure of if the policy of subsidy removal is good again. The evil that it was, I mean, many Nigerians are saying, please take us back to those evil days. Let us continue to be on those dark days, because it seems last week better. People were able to afford fuel. People were able to afford things and all of that. So it's really a sad situation. I think from the labor end, it's not just about their betrayal, because even many Nigerians are slamming the labor. I mean, this is what you told Nigerians. You came out from the meeting with the president and you were chanting, you know, you are a leader and all of those congratulatory songs at the Aso Rock. But right now, it means that whatever you had was not concrete. It's not binding. It wasn't binding. Yes, I'm fine. So it looks that in the other, you didn't have probably a robust discussion. Government in their power were not sincere to you, and probably you wouldn't have just rushed in accepting 70,000. Implementation is still on board. You've not implemented it, and right now you want people to buy fuel as high as 1,200, 1,500 in some cases and all of that. So the whole situation is that government are not speaking what Nigerians want to hear, and all of this makes that we lose confidence in the country. I mean, many Nigerians are losing confidence in the administration, that they are not truthful with what they are saying. So it's a very sad situation right now.
It is a sad situation, but some people also say that, well, we have some consolation. After all, the Dangote Refinery has done a test sampling. All right, it means, give or take, sometime down this week, we should have products from that refinery, you know, all over this country, or at least for the most parts across the country and all of that. Do you see hope in these? Because, again, on that front, the Dangote Refinery issue has lingered for a while. The initial takeoff date we had heard, there was July last year, but it's been a little over a year now. We are still discussing takeoff and not takeoff.
I mean, this is the government that indicted that the product we have in Dangote is not good enough. I mean, from their test running and all of that.
Right.
And one may begin to say, this. I mean, last government, President Buhari gave the license, gave all the approval and all of this negotiation. They even borrowed from the central bank to complete the refineries and all of that. So it was a national, I mean, in one way or the other, it was a national asset where people were, oh, this is coming to Nigeria. This is not just going to solve the problem of Nigeria. It also, I mean, the neighboring African countries will also tap into the blessings that is coming into the country. In one way or the other, we've seen how Dangote was, I mean, a few weeks ago, a month right now, was, I mean, in a talk of war with the government, that government trying to sabotage his effort, the government are not encouraging him, a government this, government that. So in essence of businesses, you invested in the business, you've bring out the businesses to ground. Nigerians are ready to buy. Why should we wait for NNPC to determine the price they have to buy? Why should we rely on the time when NNPC on their air have increased theirs to over 895 naira? So we have to wait for government. What government would they do? I mean, what would they do differently? Government is already owing the suppliers over $6 billion. So these are the statistics of the things that Nigerians are weighing now. So before we were happy as at yesterday, early hours of yesterday, where the good news came. But right now, Nigerians are now, I mean, away from being glorifying the Dangote Refinery. What should we rather ask is a question of why should government, rather NNPC, rather determine the price of how Dangote should sell? So it's a mixed feeling for Nigerians, where we can't really say we are really gonna go out of this situation right now, because you know how long it has taken us to buy fuel at 618. Now that there's an increase, and the NNPC had also said, I mean, Minister of State for Petroleum also said, this is a landing cost, so we have to buy so that we can stop the issue of smuggling. What is happening to our security agencies? Are you not trying to put
so those citizens have to suffer? Pay more, scratch their skin, so you can fight. And
also because of the inability of the security agencies to combat the borders and all of that. So why should Nigerians, every time Nigeria is having to pay for all that? So the concern we are having right now is the fact that there is a more for what government should do right now. It's a very sensitive issue because you look at the fact that this controls almost everything in this country. Market right now, you go to the market right now, a market woman will tell you, I mean, transport is high, fuel is high. So automatically, even the product that some of them had for 2 weeks ago, they don't care because of the market right now. So it just as if it was just I don't know what really describe that, because just in an hour everything had changed in the country, from the fuel, from transportation, from market prices of goods and all of that. So it has skyrocketed right now. And then we are trying to see the purchasing power of Nigerians. How many people can purchase fuel at 1,000 naira? How many persons can be able to go to the market to purchase what they can now? How many people can be able to move around the towns with what they used to compared to what they're having to deal with right now? So these are the questions of sensitivity that Nigerians are asking. Should the lives and the hopes of Nigerians, be dashed, towards this administration? But a good thing is that the president is insisting that I'm going to fix the situation.
Right.
So we're trying to give him some
we'll wait for the president. We'll wait for him to come back and see how much of fixing he can do. But you just mentioned the $6 billion elements in this issue right now. Some people would even say that given the fact that it took an NPCL that long to, in the first instance, admit an obligation of $6 billion, it probably suggests that there could be something more that Nigerians should know that they already know their wealth right now. There's that one. There's also the issue of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying just this week that, look, the way to go for the NNPCL is to get listed on the floor of the stock exchange, because he says, amongst other things, that will do two things. It will, first of all, establish a system, entrench accountability. The second, he says, it will help to incorporate corporate governance, which as it stands right now, the NNPCL is pathetically lacking.
It's really a sham, a lack of transparency. It's just now that we're trying to hear issues of $6 billion that you're owing, because all of these were concern prior to. People were raising this concern, but I mean,
and you lived in denial.
They were denying all of this, but right now you're coming out just a few days. Sunday, I mean, just yesterday, we had to increase the product. And who are those that are being taken for granted here? Is it Nigeria? So is it a company that's supposed to be doing that? I mean, should we not have a proper information coming from NNPC? Should the transparency not be their watchword? Should the consideration not be that they are serving the people? What are really about their interests and all of that? Should it not be the glory of Nigeria for us to have a company manage and sustain it as a very sensitive office that we have? So people are according. Just Nance, a few years ago, I just read Nance asking that President Tinubu that will go on will go on a protest, will go on a strike and all of that from September 15, and also that they are also demanding that you should sack the NNPC boss and all of that. And then we were speaking yesterday, where we said removing the NNPC boss will not solve all of the problem we have in that sector. It's like a long chain issue. The marketers are also involved here. Directors are involved here. People that have been one way or the other trying to import fuel in this country are involved here. People who owns the oil wells outside this country are also involved here. These are the people that they must continue to understand that Nigerians are not seeing this thing very kindly and lightly. It's not even about APC, it's not about PDP right now. It's about the hardship in the country, which is very, very real. I mean, everyone are feeling it. We can't really say this is the middle class we have in this country, because it looks that even the middle class are also suffering. Even the high class are having to suffer, because insecurity is also in the rise cases. I mean, I had a guest in the morning who said, just at the point of someone trying to withdraw money from the ATM, the person was attacked and the car cut it away. So we're not ready for that kind of insecurity in the challenge, because the moment where people cannot have what to eat, they try to find what to eat. And in the process of finding what to eat, they get to engage in one thing or the other.
Desperation sets in.
I mean, we will have more of this if this is not well addressed.
Well, I think Nigeria as a country right now has so much to address beyond even the fuel scarcity and all of the controversies around it. And one of those challenges is the fact that this country, Nigeria, is now adjudged to be the third largest debtor to the World Bank's International Development Association. What exactly does that mean? We'll give you insights after this break. Stay with us. Nigeria has ascended to the third largest debtor to the World Bank's International Development Association as of June 30, 2024, a reflection of significant increase in the country's borrowing from the institution. Now, World Bank's financial statements indicate that Nigeria's exposure to the association rose by 14.4% from $14.3 billion in the fiscal year of 2023 to $16.5 billion in the current year, that is 2024. Now, Mike, I mean, you have hosted several conversations here with experts, development economists, where they talked about the issue of our debt profile, how that debt is sinking our finances as a country every other day. The bulk of the monies we realize from the sale of crude goes into debt servicing, and then we're borrowing the next day, we're borrowing the next day, we're borrowing the day after that. What are your thoughts about how this depletes our already meager resources?
I'm not even sure we are servicing, because it looks that the moment we borrow, some people are having a way of...
like a Jabogari.
The description may suit it better, because what we are borrowing, I mean, we have demands, many demands in this country.
Right.
We are saying government should rather go into production. We are saying government should rather improve their infrastructure and all of that. So we expect that when government are borrowing, look at, scale of preferences, basic economy, where they can begin to determine this is the area we want to concentrate on. But you understand that for some time we've not seen government having, a concentration on a particular project that will ultimately, in 5 years to come, give a good production, a payback to whatever you are borrowing. Because a businessman, some people are saying, can government begin to run, our economy, just like some of them are running their businesses? When you go to borrow, you borrow because you want to make profit out of whatever you invest in for some times. But we are seeing that government are borrowing to embezzle. Some persons are borrowing with a carelessness from their part. You've seen the budgeting of ministry, and at the end of the day, you see that the ministries are not productive enough. How many ministries are generating, generating revenues?
Right.
How many agencies are doing well to the country? So the ones that are even doing well, how much are they remitting? Is there a process of following whatever government are remitting? And what you're borrowing, are you sure that this is effectively being, used or managed and all of that? So it falls back to issues of leadership in the country. People just feel when they're in government position, it's just about investment. With what we are having, with all the borrowing, nobody's against borrowing. Some countries have to borrow just to be able to, get their country work.
Right.
Our current situation in the economy demands that once you borrow, you pay attention to the things that ultimately will have an increase, a ripple effect on just our economy, where things will begin to show well, where you can be able to pay back your debts and also see a way of improving your infrastructure. But we've seen that in this country. We've seen the past 8 years of the last administration. We can see much of how they had borrowed. We can see how much they have paid back. We can see how much you are into right now. We can see how this government are telling you we inherited probably an economy that we are trying to fix. A fixable economy. But this is the same government that have to buy private jets, where people are saying, no, at this time, we don't need private jet. It's the same government and the same administration that are buying cars for National Assembly, where we are saying, no, there ought to be a sacrifice, some sacrifice. They're increasing 300% for judiciary. They're doing all of those, renovating the vice president jet. So people are saying, if you want to pay back some loan, you don't need to be doing all of those things. If you think that economies are not surviving, there are some things that you should drop for now. But we can't really see that. And that's why, from what we are now in the third position right now, it looks that we are, heading towards the first, because there's no way out with whatever we're really showing now. I don't know the miracle that might probably happen here.
And again, we keep hearing that the federal government is in talks with the multilateral institutions. The so-called Bretton Woods institutions, whether it is World Bank today or the IMF tomorrow, with the aim of trying to readjust or recalibrate the debt repayment plan and what have you. But you made a very salient point when you said, look, what we've got to do as a country is to go into production, tell ourselves the truth, and realign our priorities. Because you can't have this sort of situation in your hands, and what you're busy doing is allocating tens of billions to build carports for National Assembly. And somebody asked the question, what is wrong with the carport that is there right now?
What happened to their private cars that were using before being in the Senate?
Exactly.
But some of them will still come and tell you that they were doing better when they were in the private sector compared to now that
you come here, you're asking for a 160 billion naira SUV, and we have to buy it for all of you. 360 members of the House of Reps, and they have 109 members at the Senate and all of that. And we have to do that every legislative
Every
cycle.
4 years.
Right?
Every
So,
4
so
years.
and there we still want to progress as a country, and that means we lack transparency, quite frankly. But let's move to a third conversation tonight, which has to do with the regional crisis up north in this country. It says Afenifere leaders now saying that the north is experiencing its worst crisis in history. The chairman, board of trustees of Arewa Consultative Forum, Bashir Mohammed Dalatu, has apologized to the people of northern Nigeria for what he called the collective failure of leaders to protect the region from falling into one of the worst crises in its history. He, however, said the forum is exploring strategies of tackling the existential challenges facing the north and indeed Nigeria. He therefore declared that the north is willing to embrace constitutional review and administrative changes. You know, the north has had more than its fair share of crisis in the last 1 decade plus. Whether it's insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and all the craziest of criminality that you can imagine. Now, yes, the top hierarchy of Afenifere Consultative Forum is saying that, look, we take responsibility for this because we have failed. If we had done our part, if we had taken the right step at the right time, if we had been proactive enough, we won't be where we are now. Even years before now, we have seen people say that governors in the north, like of course it should be with governors across this country, need to do more for their people. But it appears that the refusal or failure to listen to this voice of reasoning has gotten us to where we are today.
I mean, it's a very sad situation. We've seen the recent order by the president that the Minister of Defense have to relocate to Sokoto to combat banditry and all of that. Some person has said, for how many local government would the minister cover? Where we see that it's happening in Sokoto, it's happening in Katsina, it's happening here and all of that. So is the issue not about trying to find, solutions by, trying to get the remedy, trying to remedy the situation. It's about going to the roots of the situation. Education is poor in the north. We can always testify to these issues because the moment where people are not in the classroom when they ought to go, be in the classroom. In 2024 is a problem. So we see that education have not been treated as a priority. How many governors in the north have declared state of emergency on education? You have to see the concern that the people that are leading their state are taking.
And align
from the federal government. I've seen in my state, kudos to a governor who declared, free and fair education in that state where people were going to school free, compulsory. And the moment they find you on the street, you are picked. And probably you will look at your guardian, your parents, or anybody, just so that they can say, why did you send this child to Hawk? These were the questions that government were asking. So are we seeing this effort by the northern state governors? Rather, we are seeing that, criminality is high on their end. What are they doing to combat it? Are they now beginning to see what they can do? What are the investments? You see governors are now going to airports. Some states that probably have no business to do with airport. The excess of airport is probably because of FDI, foreign direct investment, and for people to be able to, commit within their state and out. But some of them have to probably build airport just for themselves because they don't want to, make use of the road. So these are the questions. What are the priorities of the northern governors? The issues of insecurity and banditry is the robust, conversation when we have in the north. So it has to first begin with the leaders right there. So the leaders, the governors, the local government, now thanks to the local government autonomy, we start to engage them. You see, look at, this is our community. These are our brothers, these are our sisters. We have to protect ourselves, not being an enemy of ourselves. Issues of kidnapping and having to bomb everywhere and all of that, insurgency every year and then is not healthy. It's about, trying to, away from the fact that this is about distracting government, it's also a way of trying to destroy what you have. So the moment where they have this, this understanding that they have a responsibility, the imams and everybody in the mosque, everybody should be engaged. It should be a proper engagement. We start from the grassroots. You can't get from the top to fight the issue of insecurity because insecurity is local. The people that are in the community, they understand better. They understand those that are grouping. They understand why they are grouping those members. They understand why they are joining them and all of that. So these are the issues that government, away from the federal government, must begin to pay attention to. I think it may be the starting conversation for this issue.
That's where the conversation becomes really tricky because people say that, look, we're lying to ourselves. We're not ready to take on this issue just yet. Because let's say, for example, how can the federal government, how can states, whether it's in the northeast or north central or northwest, explain to any right-thinking person or Nigerian or a discerning citizen that for over a decade we've not been able to find or get to the roots of this challenge? Shekarau has died several times in this country, for example. Who is asking questions? Who is probing? Who is providing answers? Who is being held accountable? We have to answer those questions, because many questions go unanswered. Many mysteries go unresolved or unraveled. So it becomes a challenge for us to find a lasting, or if you like, a definitive solution. Because as it stands right now, it's more like the stakeholders in security space, and even those in politics, of course, those within the policy-making space, they are playing to the gallery, because nobody seems to be saying the truth. Look at how much is voted for.
Responsibility.
Yes, voted for security every year. I mean, let's just look at the budget. Say, since 2015 to 24, which is a 10-year period, I mean, fiscal period. This is a 10-year fiscal period. Look at how much has been voted for defense, for example. Have we gotten commensurate value as we know it, for example? Who is answering questions in that regard? We said the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How much of command is he giving? How much of that command is actually being responded to or even carried out? I mean, we were jokingly talking on Global Morning the other time when the president had ordered that Dr. Metawale, the state minister for defense, and of course the service chief, should move to Sokoto State and just provide security for the entire Northwest, for example. We were saying, hope this will not also turn out like one of the former IG in this country that were told, the president told us that, look, I didn't know that he didn't carry out the order that I gave him. Hope this doesn't also become like that. Because sometimes when you look at our actions, vis-a-vis the problem, the magnitude of problem we're dealing with, you're wondering, are we really serious, or just spinning around the vicious cycle? Going
to the top just to fight the issue that is on the grassroots is actually a waste of time. I mean, I will tell you that for the fact that the minister is there, probably those people may evacuate from that region. Temporary. And how long will the minister be there? We can't tell that the minister will be there in the next 4 years of this, the next 3 years of this administration. Right. So it therefore means that it's just a temporary solution. Rather, we are saying and engaging that issues of insecurity in the north are, local. And the moment government and the leaders of those regions understand this, and they start engaging the people at the grassroots, and then government can provide the necessary support. This is what should be the way forward. Because the moment where we're trying to fight the local issue from the top, the people are just laughing at you, because probably they will not give you the necessary information. And then this also brought up the concern of technology. How are we trying to get insecurity, to fight insecurity in the 21st century we are right now, without deploying some technology in it? We can see the investment and the locations to the security sector. We cannot really say we have the sophisticated weapons to combat some of these issues. About intelligence gathering, about trying to capture the region and understand the statistics of what is really happening. It takes US just a few hours to detect who did a shot against Donald Trump at the campaign ground. Right. This is a country that works. And
then the next thing you know is the head of the Secret Service steps down.
Had to tender resignation. That's a country that first takes responsibility, and a country that also understands their regions very well. So our regions look so broad. We can't really tell if our security numbers we have, the security agencies that we have, are able to cover everywhere. So it therefore also call a concern that there should be a need for us to start investing towards digitalization and all of that, to be able to combat some of these things, because physical confrontation probably is not just the current trend of trying to combat insecurity.
So we have to find a way to marry technology and whatever other methods that we are already
It's really necessary. I hope it will not also be a room for another embezzlement, because every time we have a fantastic idea for government,
there has to be
trying to develop
some sort of off the mic moments,
and there will be application for budget just to be able to accommodate all of this. So we've seen that. It's also what we've been confronted with. We can't really say that what have been invested have been properly utilized. Right. So that's another issue. Are they being sincere? Are security chiefs being sincere to us? Or are they doing security meetings telling Mr. President everywhere is protected, we've covered everywhere, we've served everywhere, without giving a proper statistics of the issue on ground? Because the issue where we understand that we are still finding extortion from police on the street. It shows us
how the NSAS protests.
It shows us how far we are yet to go. When we are saying insecurity, and then probably a policeman still set fire on the road, or boy, all of that. So it means that anybody can become, can compromise. They can compromise at any point where they are being confronted with this guy.
Even to the detriment of national interest.
Exactly. So it has to be that there's a long way to go. Retraining of our personnel has to be there. Their welfareism, with fairness to them, has to be there, because some of them will tell you, I can't, my family is more important to me. Probably I can't take the risk to do this and all of that. And so there's a proper, robust engagement to do. Get the facts right. What are the problems of these people? What are they agitating for? If it's something that is solvable, see what you can do to be able to see. Education is paramount. For the next 10 years, can the North begin to say, oh, this is the number of children we've gotten out of the street and then to the classroom where they can get education, which is probably one of the best things that can really happen to them, for their mentality for some mental adjustment and all of that. So I think there should be a means of trying to tackle this, because if you want to wait for government to always at every point, minister, please relocate to Katsina, minister, go to Kano. We don't know how many ministers will sacrifice just to be able to visit this region without solving the issues of insecurity.
Well, sad tale to tell, no doubt about that. We're taking a quick break now, everyone, but when we return, Kenneth Okonkwo, one of the most vocal members of the Labour Party, especially going into the 2023 general election, now has a very strong word for the likes of Tinubu, Atiku, and Obi, and he says to them they should step aside for new faces to emerge in 2027. Is anyone listening to that conversation at all? We'll find out when we return. Now, a former spokesperson for the Labour Party's presidential campaign cancelled in the 2023 election, Kenneth Okonkwo, is now urging President Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, and Peter Obi to refrain from running for office in the 2027 election. Now, in an interview today, Okonkwo stressed the importance of introducing fresh faces into Nigerian policies, with an assertion that the current leaders have let the nation down. Do you think his foundation, the basis on which he's making this call, is valid or faulty? Because he says these leaders, according to him, by his own assessment, have let the nation down. Is that enough reason to call for new faces?
It's two ways to read. One, probably on the grounds that opposition are not really the opposition we know. You see, in 2012, people will tell you that the president today had led a protest. Also was in a protest just for good governance issues in the country. So it therefore means that these were leaders who were probably in the respective parties, trying to confront the situations in the country. Now, we did not see Atiku leading any issues like that. Few crises came, probably everyone was silenced away from just the normal tweet and reactions. Peter Obi, supported the end by governance protest, but said, it must be peaceful. But you're not there with the people. People were expecting that you will be out there to see how you can also, amplify their voice and also support the young ones who are on the street. Right. So it looks that in terms of opposition, they have not given the president and the current administration enough to deal with. Criticism is not just about the tweeting, it's about the actions you're taking. It's about the fact that you're confronting on the street, you are going on the street as well, trying to get, if people are saying, let's go on a protest, you have to be there with them to protest. So it looks that they have disappointed some people, and this is the reason why they're asking, that, they are not just the way for Nigeria to go. And then the other part is that, Kenneth, one man who left APC and on to Labour Party. And now he has recently, he's having some, we can't really say if he's not a member of Labour Party again because of the disagreement he's having with Abure's led faction and all of that. So the controversy cannot really tell us on what grounds he probably may be given that perspective. But what I understand is that he feels Peter Obi had not really confront the issues enough, where the result came and then it was quiet. The judgment came after the Supreme Court. Probably there's nothing that anybody would have done.
What could he have done after?
After the Supreme Court, we expect that. Probably if he was, just as every obedient movement are really still bitter about the situation, it would have still be probably so much angry and leading some, probably a concern of just to be able to get attention of government. government. But it looks that Peter Obi understand his game. Of course, you understand that you have to do this according to the law.
Right.
What the law says after the election, after the judgment, and all of that. Please put everything to rest and get prepared towards the next election. So I feel that's what Peter Obi is doing. And with fairness to Atiku, some people said Atiku is coming back for 2027. Should PDP rather consider him to give him ticket again? And would it rather be? And so the other people will tell you, I mean, Atiku was the reason why PDP fell woefully in the last election. It probably wasn't the time for North. It was now the time for South to produce a president. So why was he out for contest? So for them to come together, I've seen negotiation where Kwankwaso and Peter Obi, all of them are trying to come together to unseat Tinubu. Should that rather be the conversation we're having right now? The conversation Nigerians are having right now is not about party. It's about the fact that whosoever is the president right now has a whole lot to fix. You know, issues in the country and the hardship in the country is real. And having to know who is better for 2027, it probably is not a really negotiation right now, because 3 years to go, we are confronted with a challenge. And the expectation is that the president will be able to have the capacity to fix it, because he said, I mean, I'll hit the ground running from day one. And then we have counted from day one to now. Some Nigerians are saying we can't really get a grounds of where you are leading us to. Can you give us a spot of what the feelings of where the government is taking us to? That's the conversation many Nigerians are really expecting.
It's interesting. Let's talk about, as we wrap up now, Edikon, let's talk about new faces as recommended by Kenneth Okonkwo. Let's assume, for the purpose of this conversation, that we are saying, okay, well, President Bola Tinubu, who, by the way, has the right to run again in 2027, says, I'm no longer interested, for whatever reason, I'm stepping aside. And then Obi does the same. And then Kwankwaso and Atiku follow suit. So all of these four gentlemen say, we're stepping aside. Let's look at some of the other persons who also ran in 2023. For example, you have Domebi Kachiku. All right, he ran, gentleman, young man. You had the likes of Showore, whom you interviewed yesterday on Big Talk. So you have Omoyele Showore, who has run more than once. And then you have the likes of Professor Kingsley Moghalu. And then you have another gentleman lawyer, Prince Adebayo. So you have these four and even more, all right, who say, okay, these are fresh faces. Yes, we have tested the waters. We couldn't swim. We couldn't even get into the river. But we have never really been held maybe elective offices in this country. So we want to be president. Of all of these, is it easy for Nigerians to make a choice? Because it seems it has just become an issue of, well, we are accustomed to these other four faces. And
issue with Nigeria is a political party. We've seen that we can't win any election in this country without having without being everywhere in the country.
And having the establishments behind it.
There was what they were using against the it was issues
spread.
of...
The issue of spread?
Issue of
national spread.
National spread. So when some people said, it's just a few people in one room, tweeting and all of that. So one expect that before you can be going to talk of presidency, you must understand that you need to be everywhere. We have the works, some of that, so the four local government to cover and all of that. Because I will tell you, in some polling units, Labour Party didn't have an agent.
Yes. And in some cases, you even go there maybe because you're a voter, you realize that there are parties without agents.
So it looks at People's Democratic Party and APC are just the two major political parties in this country with national spread, where every nooks and crannies you can be able to find them. And that's the reason why we are saying for People's Democratic Party and APC, where ultimately, before you can now just consider NNPP of Kwankwaso and Labour Party of Peter Obi, there is a need for these major political parties to consider bringing out candidates. They can be able to match with the expectations of Nigerians. I'm not saying probably we should dash hope on what the president is doing right now. But we are saying if it must be in the call of Kenneth Okonkwo for us to have young people, the two major political parties, they have a good number of personnel to be able to do the job as well. So why don't you also try hands that probably can also bring new idea? And some people will also tell you that the issue of the country is not about just a single leader. It's about the system. The whole system is tied that even if you have a sense in the boardroom, you will also find a way of trying to do the wrong thing at the same time. So should we rather also concentrate on trying to fix the system? Should we rather see how we can get an election right, where people after election cannot go to court, necessarily go to court, run to court for tribunal and all of that? Should we rather get a situation where political parties understand that when conducting party primaries is an internal democracy and there's a need to uphold integrity and level of transparency, where some people after the political primaries election are not running to court and all of that. So these are the deep issues that must be dealt with. Now, in consideration for the fact that at the moment where you file a candidate, probably the people are not happy about the candidate. It's also have a way of reflecting on the election.
Right.
You see what has happened, in United States, where Biden feel probably people are not really accepting me, so he had to talk about just to be able to give
Kamala Harris got a chance.
So this is where politics of humanity is really considered.
I think that sounds like the title of a best-selling book. Politics of Humanity is very important beyond just the optics and the impressions.
We absolutely hope that we'll get it right.
Right.
We absolutely
Thank
hope
you so
we'll get
much,
it right.
Dicko Michael.
Always a pleasure.
Tonight, just to quickly say that at 7 p.m. West African time, it will be time for a big talk here with Dicko Michael. Big conversation coming through at that time as well. Thank you, everyone, for spending a part of your time with us. I am Weah Agumofwegbe. At top of the hour, we'll bring you News Cycle. Stay with Global Television.